Okay. Good morning, students. We'll start with the second optical photodetector today. So quick recap what we have done. We started with the detector part. I had explained you what is the difference between the detector and the optical receiver. They are joined together, but there is a difference between the two. The optical receiver will be working after the detector, wherein the detector's job is to see how many how many photons are incident on it, and how it can convert them to uh, the corresponding electrons. And then those electrons go into the receiver, and then a decision is made on the whether bit 1 or bit 0 was transmitted, right? So that is the job of the optical receiver. So we discussed what are the performance requirements of the optical detector. So it basically needs to minimize the addition of noise by itself. Response time should be high, and it should work over a large bandwidth, and then there are the usual requirements. We discussed the pin diode, how it operates. You can have uh, an intrinsic material in between the PN junction, and based on the doping level, then the carriers are going to be generated. And as these carriers will move, they are going to recombine with each other, and hence the current value is going to go down, and that distance over which this occurs is known as the diffusion length, and there is a lifetime for the carrier, right? So we discussed some mathematics based on that, and then quantum efficiency and response time of the photodetector, and the responsivity, right? So responsivity, we expect the responsivity of the uh, photodetector, the pin diode, to be as high as possible, but usually it is in the range of 70 to 75 when it comes to a silicon pin diode. Okay. So those were some of the basics of the pin diode. Now today we'll look at the other kind of photo detector which we could use in the optical system, that is known as the avalanche photodiode, okay, in short APD. So this term avalanche basically means multiplication. So there is a provision here in the diagram, which I'll explain you, where the multiplication of the electrons takes place, and therefore you get multiplied current at the output of this photodetector. So basically this APD will internally multiply the photo current which is generated before it enters the input of the amplifier, that is the next optical receiver, right? So internally there is going to be multiplication, and uh, then this multiplied photocurrent will go into the optical receiver, which consists of the amplifier and the equalizer. Okay. So basically this will increase what is known as the receiver sensitivity. Okay. So one important point of the APD, because of the multiplication, it increases the receiver sensitivity. That means it makes it more immune to noise, specifically what is known as the thermal noise. This is the kind of noise which is generated due to change in temperature, and it affects the device, right? So we're going to talk about this noise in in the topic of photodetector noise. But with the avalanche or the multiplication of the carriers, this receiver sensitivity will increase, and immunity to noise also increases. Immunity of the system to noise also increases, right? Specifically the thermal noise. There is another kind of noise also. I'll just introduce you to that noise. It is also known as the short noise. Okay, so we'll be discussing this noise. I'm just introducing you to those. Okay, so what is the basic principle? So for this carrier multiplication to occur, the the generated carriers, the photo generated carriers, these are made to travel through a region where there is high amount of electric field. So if you look at the diagram on the right hand side, there is the mention of this electric field. and this is a very high electric field, right? So whatever photo carriers are generated, we ensure that the system is such that these pass through this high electric field, and within this high field in this region, this photo generated electron or hole, whichever is the charge, it will gain that much energy that is going to ionize it in the valence band upon colliding with the other charges, right? So more and more of these charges will collide with each other, and therefore the number of carriers will increase, right? So this process of uh, having these carriers travel within the high electric field, and then getting this enough energy through ionization, that process is known as impact ionization. So this is the major technique, impact ionization, through which the APD multiplies the current, that is the carriers, the photo carriers, right? So basically the impact ionization is a carrier multiplication technique or mechanism. So you just ensure that these carriers will move through a very high electric field region, and where they will now collide with the other you know carriers, and impact ionization takes place, right? So this the carriers which are now created, the additional carriers, the newly created carriers, these will get the acceleration because of the high electric field, and thus they will get enough energy to cause further impact ionization, right? So this high electric field region really helps in creating or ionizing the carriers, and once, because of impact ionization, uh, new carriers are created, this region ensures that even those new carriers will gain enough energy and will cause further impact ionization, right? So this phenomena through which this impact ionization keeps occurring for the existing and the newly created photo carriers, that is known as the avalanche effect. That is known as the avalanche effect, right? So the avalanche effect is going to just multiply the carriers. So these will be the existing carriers as well as those carriers, uh, which will be generated because of the ionization, and they get enough acceleration to get more energy, right? So below this diode voltage, breakdown voltage, you'll have a finite number of carriers which are created, whereas above the breakdown voltage, the number of carriers can be, in theory, infinite, but it's going to be many number of carriers which will be created, right? So in terms of the construction, a common construction which you are actually seeing on the screen on the right hand side, that kind of a construction, for APD is known as the reach through construction. So we'll understand why it is known as the reach through construction, right? So this diagram which you see here, this is known as the reach through construction. Okay, so we'll see very soon now why it is known as the reach through construction, right? So basic principle of this APD is, it works like the pin diode, but just additionally it also ensures multiplication. So for that we need to have a high electric field. It will take all the carriers, provide enough energy, and these carriers will hit the other carriers, and new carriers are generated, and because of the high electric field, there's going to be further ionization, right? So you can see in this electric field, the diagram here, so I'm just marking on top of that, that is known as the avalanche region, this region here. So you can see that the carriers are just increasing, right? So that is known as the avalanche region there. So let us look at the construction, and then we'll quickly see the operation, and then a few of the a few numericals based on the APD as well as the pin diode. Okay. So in terms of the operation, so this term called as reach through, it basically comes from the photodiode operation. So when we have a low reverse bias voltage, most of the potential drop will be across the PN plus junction. And in this case, the depletion region is going to widen with increasing bias until you will have a certain voltage. And at this voltage, the peak electric field at the PN plus junction will be, will be about 5 to 10% below which is required for avalanche effect. So you have almost reached the avalanche effect, right? So at this point, that depletion layer just reaches through to nearly intrinsic pi region. So you have a pi region here, and it just is about there in the high electric field. That is why it is known as reach through, because it has not reached that high electric field. It is just there, right? So in the normal usage, this APD, reach through APD, this will be operated in fully depleted mode. Okay. So light is going to enter the device through the P plus region, and there it will be absorbed by the I of N, this region here. So your light is going to enter in this region here. So I'll write it HF, and uh, it will be absorbed here in this region. I'm shading that, right? So now once it is absorbed, the photon is going to give up its energy and it is going to create electron hole pairs. And these pairs are then separated by electric field in that region. And these will then move through this region in the PN plus junction when there is a high electric field, right? So these carriers, once the photon gives up the energy, it's going to have the electron hole pairs, and these electron hole pairs will start moving here. And in this region, you can see that we are having very high electric field here, right? So in this case, in this region, now because of the high electric field, the impact ionization is going to take place, right? So it is actually in this high field region, the carrier multiplication is going to take place, right? So we have some mathematical relation to this. So the average number of electron hole pairs. Okay. So average number of electron hole pairs created by carrier per unit distance is called as ionization rate. Right? So these are important terms which I'm mentioning here. Right? So this ionization rate is going to be different for different kinds of semiconductor materials. So in the notes, I have also shown a graph which shows different materials and how their ionization rate will vary with the electric field. So you can just look at that, right? What is important is the mathematics on the APD. So we'll call the multiplication, we'll call the multiplication M for all carriers, right? Multiplication M for all carriers generated in the photodiode. Okay. And this is defined as M equal to IN divided by IP, where IN is average value of total multiplied output current, and IP is primary unmultiplied photocurrent, right? So this M is going to be an integer value, right? And it is the ratio of the multiplied current divided by that of the unmultiplied current, right? So this unmultiplied photocurrent we will also get from the pin diode, because there is no mechanism of ionization and high electric field there. So this denominator IP will be the one that we can also get from pin diode, but IN is the one that happens because of the impact ionization, because of which the multiplication is going to be there, right? So if we take the pin diode, and if we compare this with the APD, then you can have the responsivity of the APD as eta q divided by hf, which is the responsivity of the pin diode. So let me write that here. This is the responsivity of the pin diode, eta q divided by hf. This will now just multiply with m for APD, right? So basically comparing the responsivity of the APD with that of the responsivity of the pin diode, it will be like this. So APD will give you m times you know that responsivity which you get from the pin diode. So this responsivity, as I've told, we expect this responsivity to be as high as possible, but it is not usually that high, right? So we'll be using this equation for the numericals, so that I'll be letting you know. Okay. So before we go to the numericals, we'll discuss some performance requirements of the APD. One is the usual response time. So this it depends on the following factors for APD. One, what is known as the transit time of photocarriers in depletion region. That means how long they take to go from that depletion region to the PN region, right? That is where they are going to be impact ionized, and further multiplication will take place. Next is the diffusion time of photocarriers, and how much are they active and then how they diffuse out. Third is the RC constant of the photodiode. So this is always going to have an impact, the RC constant, because if you know, I'm sure you know that F is 1 by 2 pi root LC, and you can always connect the RC constant through that LC, right? So root LC is always going to affect F, and therefore it is going to affect the time, right? So the response time is always going to be affected because of the RC constant of that particular diode, because ultimately these all are diodes, right? So in terms of this transit time, we can calculate using the PN junction and the diode. The transit time TD is given as W divided by some VD, where W is the depletion layer width, how wide is the depletion layer, and VD, this is the velocity of carriers. Right, so how much these carriers will be there, what is their velocity, and that related to the depletion layer width will give you the transit time, right? In terms of diffusion time, if we see, then it follows the since it is an RC circuit, right, or the RC constant is going to affect it, then we look at the rise time and the fall time. So that diagram I just have for reference. So if we see, this is going to be the this is going to be the this is going to be the voltage response in terms of the rise time and the fall time, right? So tau R and tau F are the points which are known as the leading edge, and for tau F it is going to be the point on the falling edge, right? So I'm sure you have done this in electronics. So here you have tau R, which is the rise time here, this portion here, right? So this is the leading edge. So leading edge going from 10 to 90%, right? Going from 10 to 90%. And then you have tau F. This is the falling edge. And this will go from 90 to 10%. So one is leading edge and the other is going to be the following edge, right? Uh, the other uh, the other kind of graph which we always see in the electronic circuits in RC constants is this graph. So let me show you that. So this one. So you have percent of total output and what is the response of the fast carriers and response of the slow carriers. So you can see that the fast carriers will affect initially, and they will ensure that most of the multiplication will occur as fast as possible, and it allows the device to rise to about 50% in a very fast time, right? So in a few nanoseconds it will ensure that the device will reach 50% of its output, whereas slow carriers will cause some long delay before your output is going to be reached. Okay. So there's some a few more aspects to this rise time and fall time for the APD. So that I have given in the notes, so you can refer to the notes. But important is the operation of the APD, where we must know what is impact ionization. The diagram, of course, is required to know how the operation is going to take place. And so these factors which I have underlined or which I have starred now. So we must know impact ionization, which we must know what is avalanche effect, and then of course we should know the construction followed by the working. Right? So just the last part which I was telling you about rise time and fall time of the diode. Here you will also see I put in the notes. So if the input pulse is a rectangular pulse, because of this constants, if you have a slow component, it rises slowly, and then you have a fast component. So it looks something like this, right? So this will be the slow carriers, and the fast carriers will ensure that you get the output very soon. Right? So all of this is related to the rise time and the fall time. So you can just look at those aspects in the note. There is about a page or page and a half based on that. Okay. So let us solve few problems based on pin diode APD. So what I've seen in the exam is constant questions. For example, explain the operation of the pin diode, followed by a numerical. But more often we always get the question on APD with explaining the principle, the diagram, the operation, followed by a numerical. Okay, so that is the trend which I have seen. So you'll get about two parts of this question, right? Operation and this, the numericals. So let's look at a few numericals. So first numerical is a photodiode has. So I'll just write the parameters. A photodiode has a quantum efficiency of 65%, right? So the quantum efficiency of the photodiode is 65%. When photons of energy, 1.5 into 10 raised to negative 19 joules are incident upon it. Okay. The question is, so I'll write the question here in terms of parameters. One, at what wavelength is the photodiode operating? Second, calculate incident optical power required to obtain a photocurrent. So this is the parameter we are given. Obtain the photocurrent of 2.5 microampere when the photodiode is operating as described above, right? So these are the two parameters we need to calculate, lambda and input power or incident power, and we are given the quantum efficiency, we are given the energy, and we are given the current, right? So we know a relation of energy with frequency. We know that E is HF, right? Or I can write F in terms of lambda. So this will be HC by lambda. Therefore, from this equation, I can get lambda, which is HC by E, right? So we know H, we know C, and E is given to us. Therefore, I can find lambda. So lambda in this case will be H, which is 6.62 into 10 raised to negative 34 into C, which is 3 into 10 raised to 8, divided by the energy which is given to us, which is let's see, 1.5 into 10 raised to negative 19. Right? So once we solve this, we'll get the wavelength. Okay. So let me just solve this quickly. So we get 13.2 into 10 raised to minus 5. So I can write this as 1.32 micrometer. If you're solving with me, just check if you get that answer. 1.32 micrometer.
Yes, sir, it's correct.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay. So this is the first part. In the second part, we need to calculate the input power, that is incident optical power, right? And we are given the other parameters. So this is what diagrammatically this is what it looks like. Okay. So we have a photo detector. So I'll draw a diode. Okay. So photons are going to be incident on this photo detector. Okay. And what it is going to generate here is the current. So this is your photo detector, right? So what is given to us is that the energy of the photons is given to us, right? And it says that the photocurrent which we need to obtain is 2.5 microampere, right? For this, to get this amount of current, 2.5 microampere, we need to see, or we need to calculate what should be the incident power of the photons. So diagrammatically, that is what it looks like. Okay. So we can, excuse me, we can use the uh, standard equation of quantum efficiency relating to that with the current. So we derived that yesterday. I'll rewrite it here. Eta is IPHF divided by P in Q. We had done this yesterday. From here, we can write the equation for P in. That is the power that should be incident on the photo detector. So that will be IP into H into C divided by eta Q and lambda. So I've written HF as HC by lambda, right? So we have these all these values with us, so we can calculate P in. So P in will be IP, which is given to us, which is 2.5 into 10 raised to negative 6 into H, which is 6.62 10 raised to minus 34 into 3 into 10 raised to 8, and this will divide by eta, which is given to us as 65%, so 0.65 into Q, which is 1.6 into 10 raised to negative 19 into lambda, which we calculated in the first part, which is 1.32 micrometer, which is 10 raised to minus 6. So we can calculate this and see what answer we get. I get about 36 into 10 raised to minus 5.
Yes, sir. 3.6 to 10 raised to
Yeah,
minus
so
6.
3.6 microwatts. Okay, so 3.6 microwatts. Okay. So these are the kind of numericals they would ask, where you'll have to just directly use the equations, which we have derived and stated. Okay. So next, let's look at this is a very simple question, but it will help us further. So the question is photons of energy 1.53 into 10 raised to negative 19 joules are incident on a photodiode which has a responsivity. So the responsivity is given to us as 0.65 ampere per watt. So R is 0.65 ampere per watt, and it says if the optical power level is 10 microwatt, find the generated photocurrent. So we need to find I, right? So you can see from even if we do not know the equation, for example, in the exam, if we forget, because this has to be memorized, see the hint is given to us in one of the parameters units. So if you look at the responsivity here, and if you look at the units, it is ampere per watt, right? So I can say, or I can write easily that R, which is ampere per watt, is nothing but, because these are the units, so I can rewrite them in terms of ampere, which is current, by watt, which is power, right? Therefore I need to find the current I. So I can write this as I is equal to R into P. R is given to us, which is 0.65. Power is given to us, which is 10 microwatt. And once I do this, then I will directly get the current value, right? So please be aware in the question and in general, every time we don't have to memorize the formulas. Hints are there. Mostly the units will always help us, right? So this is a very simple calculation. You'll just get 6.5 micro ampere, right? So it's a simple numerical. Just wanted to do this to show you we don't have to always memorize the equations. Okay, units really help us. Yeah, I hope that was clear. Okay. Okay. Next numerical. Let me just check. Okay, so okay, we can solve this one. So the question is, there's some information which is relevant, irrelevant. We'll have to find out. So I'll just write the question. Okay. So the question is long, but the solution is very simple. Okay? So it says in a 100 nanosecond pulse, 6 into 10 raised to 6 photons at a wavelength of 1300 nanometer falls on a photodetector, on an average 5.4 into 10 raised to 6 electron hole pairs are generated. Question is, find the quantum efficiency. Find the quantum efficiency. Okay, so a lot of information is given. Basically what we need to find is eta. So if we know the definition of eta, it is very easy. Even if we do not know the definition, mathematics, we can just try to understand. So what is this quantum efficiency? So in terms of efficiency, what do we expect at the source and detector? At the source end, we expect that whatever electrons fall on the LED or laser, they should be, all of them should generate the photons. So I can say that it is 100% efficient. At the receiver part, detector part, I am expecting the opposite. That is, how many photons are incident on the photodetector and how many of them are converted into the corresponding electrons, right? So basically what I'm looking at the receiver is the number of photons which are incident, that is, hitting the photodetector. Of them, how many number of electron hole pairs are generated? If this value, this ratio becomes 1, that is 100%, then I'm talking about an ideal system, but that is obviously not going to happen, right? This is at the detector part. If I just have to use the same logic as I told before at the source part, then it is just going to be inverse. So eta at the source will be just inverse of eta detector. So how many number of electron hole pairs are incident on the LED or laser, and how many are converted into the photons, right? So that is the idea. But here I am dealing with the detector part, therefore that is the ratio. So now it is a very simple case. So number of electron hole pairs is given 5.4 into 10 raised to 6, and number of photons which we have is 6 into 10 raised to 6. So it's just about 5.4 divided by 6, so you'll get 0.9. So this is a very good photodetector because its quantum efficient, the quantum efficiency is 90%. So it's a good photodetector. If 100 photons fall, 90 of them are converting it to 90 of them are converted to the corresponding electron hole pairs, right? So that is the idea there. Okay. Next, let's solve one last problem. So this I'll give you the question, and I'll give you some time to solve this. Okay, this is based on APD. You can use the equations which we have done and try to solve this, right? So a given APD, I'll just write given APD has quantum efficiency of 65% at wavelength of 900 nanometer. Suppose 0.5 microwatt of optical power produces a multiplied photocurrent of 10 microampere. Find the multiplication factor. Find the multiplication factor. Find the multiplication factor. Okay. So what we need to find is M needs to be found, and M basically is the multiplied photocurrent divided by the unmultiplied photocurrent, right? So this IP, as I told you, in the denominator we'll get from the pin diode also. Just IM is the multiplied photocurrent, right? So what we are given is the quantum efficiency, the wavelength, and we are given 0.5 optical power. 0.5 optical power is given, and it produces a multiplied photocurrent of 10 microampere. That means in this ratio of IM by IP, we are given the multiplied photocurrent. That means we are given IM, which is 10 microampere. All we need is to find IP, and if we find that, we can find IM, right? So finding IP is just like dealing with the pin photodiode, right? So just dealing with the pin photodiode, if I am able to find IP, then I can put that in the denominator and we can get the value of M, right? So now how to find IP, right? So we again will use the equation for responsivity. So responsivity has a unit of ampere per watt. So ampere is current, that is IP, divided by watts, which will be the power, right? So what we are given is the power. So I'll substitute that. IP remains as it is. We are given that suppose 0.5 microwatt of optical power. So this is 0.5 microwatt. Therefore, IP is 0.5 microwatt into R, right? So all I have to do is know the equation of R, right? And we have done that before. R is nothing but eta Q divided by HF into Pn, right? So that Pn value I have already put in, right? That Pn value I have already put in. So this is your R, right? So from here we can find the value of IP, right? So overall IP will be eta Q divided by HF into Pn. So I can write this as IP, which is eta Q divided by HC by lambda. So lambda goes there into Pn, right? So we are given the quantum efficiency. So I know eta Q lambda is also given to us, right? 900 nanometer. H is a constant, C is a constant. Pn is also given to us, which is 0.5 microwatt. So now I know all the constants and the parameters, so we can calculate the value of IP, right? So I'll just write the values. So IP will be eta, the quantum efficiency is 65%, so 0.65 into Q into lambda is 900 nanometers, so divided by H and C, and P in, which is given to us, which is 0.5 microwatt. So here we have IP. Once you have IP, you can plug that into the equation. So let me write this equation so it's visible. We need to calculate M, which is IM by IP. IM is given to us 10 microwatt, and we can calculate IP here. And once we get IP, then we can use that value in that denominator. Let me know what IP value we get.
So 2.36 into 10 raised to minus 7.
Let me just calculate. Okay, so I'm getting in micro ampere, so around 0.236 microampere. Are you getting that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now that 0.236 can be used here, right? So I can put this here, 0.236 microampere, right? So 10 divided by 0.236, I think 42 point something, I think we get, right?
42.3, sir.
Yeah. So you always take it as the next higher integer. So then M in this case will be 43, right? So that means compared to the pin diode, the same pin diode with the same configuration, this this avalanche photodiode will give us 43 times the multiplication, right? So this is a very common kind of question that you will encounter. Okay, and a similar question was asked. One second. A similar question was asked in the previous exam. Okay, not the same values, but similar kind of, right? So either way, you need to find the multiplication factor, or you will have to find the current, that is multiplied current, or you will have to find uh, all these values for APD are given, and you will have to find the responsivity of the pin diode, so on and so forth, right? So the only difference in APD and pin would be that electric field that we have, right? The high region electric field, and that region is going to lead to impact ionization. So